right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Let's begin with all the things we have to vote on one right after another. First, would anyone like to add anything to our agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the February 26th agenda as submitted?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sharon and Gail. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the January 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes, the pending deposited gift reports, and the statistical reports as submitted?
Can I have two corrections?
Yes.
In the minutes, Heather Montgomery was present at the January 22nd meeting.
We
She's not
must
listed
correct
in
that,
staff.
yeah.
And there's a couple errors on the statistical report we just discovered this morning, and the totals on page 10. The totals at the bottom for October and November are incorrect. There's probably a zero missing there, so we'll make those corrections, but I wanted to let you all know about it before you approve them. Apologies.
All right, so we are going to approve the consent agenda as amended, not as submitted. Do I have a motion to do that?
Sure.
Thank you, Bill. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Emily. Is there anyone from the public who wants to be heard? All right, let's go to the agenda and start the reports, but first, let's welcome Monica.
Monica Maloof.
Yes.
She is our substitute attorney for Shannon, who had a baby in, I think, January.
Well, congratulations to Shannon.
I know. I'm so happy for her and her family.
So we're grateful to have her here, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. We're the library, you should love us.
I already did.
Turn
I just texted a friend and I was like, I love library people. I love book people.
There you go,
Well,
there you go.
well,
Then you
you're in our
are
tribe.
double
Absolutely.
welcome. All right, do we have a friends report?
Clay isn't here and Ruth wasn't able to make it. I can report that they are having a book drive this Saturday. So a book drive for their meeting or their sale, which will come up in May, I believe. Yeah, May. And they will have a full Friends meeting next Wednesday, which I think is March 5th. And nothing else to report.
Okay. Library Foundation, Susan.
Good morning. The foundation has no formal report.
And we're gonna be out in like 10 minutes. Library Administration.
All right. Been a busy since January, since we last met 5 weeks ago. We've had a couple snow days. It's been a challenging year for the city. We've had 3 snow events, so we had to close for a couple days. We've managed pretty well. Just the things that are going on really that are facing us are budget preparation, CIP information. The city is asking for a lot of information in preparation for the March 27th announcement of the city's budget. And we'll know more then. Chris did a wonderful job of visiting council. I'm sure she'll talk about that more in her report. I do want to mention some positive direction. If you go by the main library, you'll notice 2 new signs out in front of the building, and those are in your report. They reflect our new logo, new font. They replace signs that had been up for probably 40 years. So I think it will definitely improve our curb appeal down there. We'll be replacing also signs at Ginter Park. The Ginter Park project has been moving forward. The snow and rain slowed that group down there. They're doing that stormwater project there. We have a really good contractor. Their name is Exact. They've done other work for the city. They're doing a great job out there. I think it will finish on time, early enough so that we can start planting the trees. And this is an example of hardworking volunteers planting trees at, I believe this is actually Broad Rock. Broad Rock in the back. You can tell from the water tower. So another location will be complete with that. Haven't had a lot of new hires. And pretty brief report from me this month.
Okay, do we want to introduce Heather?
Heather Montgomery, would you like to give us an update on
I would
Broad Rock
love
Ranch?
to.
Thank you.
I heard that you liked one pagers, so I gave you a one pager instead of a PowerPoint presentation. It's even on fancy paper.
Ooh.
It was donated.
Excellent color printer. Whoa. Thank you.
So Broad Rock is doing great. I just saw in the board report that our circulation is up.
Thank you.
Which is extremely exciting because circulation is not our strong point, as I'm sure you know. A couple of things about us. You've got one. All right. A couple of things about us. We have 5 full-time staff members and 3 part-time staff members. 5 of us speak Spanish at least well enough to help people in Spanish. 2 of us are really good and we can help people more in Spanish. So we do a lot of work with the Spanish-speaking population. The demographics that you see here, 55% Black, 25% Latino, 30% white, do not add up to 100 because there's a lot of overlap, especially in the Latino population. Some of them are Black and some are white and some are not. So that's why that doesn't match. One of the reasons that our circulation is so low is because we have a very high percentage of the population that doesn't have a high school diploma. A lot of what we do is helping people get things that they need to get done. We are not, I always describe it to people as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're down here at the bottom, getting food, housing, money, taking care of business. Then we get a little bit of the upper stuff where people are self-actualizing and checking out books and stuff, and that's always exciting. But it's also project time, so we're getting a lot of kids doing projects. We consistently register one of the highest door counts in RPL, which is indicative of how much we help the population, especially considering we don't have that high of circulation, which shows that we're doing a lot of other things. We do a lot of faxes, a lot of printing, and a lot of notaries. I counted it up, and in this fiscal year alone, we've done over 1,000 notaries, which translates to $10,000 that we've saved our community because notaries cost $10 a pop now. So I'm really proud of that. We also have a really strong homework help program that is one of our signature programs. We have volunteers and staff members who work with kids Monday through Thursday, 3:30 to 5:30, year round, on the homework that they get assigned and reading practice. It doesn't show up in the strategic plan because it's not 5 and under, it's that elementary and middle school bracket. But we help an average of 84 kids a month. Sometimes it's as many as 125 or so. And it's really helpful to the community because we have a lot of family members whose parents don't speak English. The kids do, so anybody can work with them, but the parents can't help them with their homework. And they can't even explain what the homework it is. They have no clue. So we help them with the homework, and the Spanish-speaking employees and volunteers are able to explain what the homework is. We're able to explain what the report cards mean. And so we're really a resource for those families. And then there's a lot of families too that they just need a break. Because kids don't want to do homework with their parents. They would much rather do homework at the library with some stranger, especially if it's a teenage volunteer. which I'm very happy to say we have a lot of teenage volunteers right now that are helping. Last weekend, the advisory board helped us put on our, I think it's the 4th annual. There was a gap during the pandemic, so I'm a little foggy on how many annual,
About the 7th year, but during the gap.
but there was a
Because
gap.
The
Right.
gap because of the pandemic, but it was a great program.
It was.
We had almost 70 people
Mm-hmm.
that attended. We had somebody from the Department of Health. They came in. We had a state trooper. He came in about reaching to the community. Well, we had another Dr. Wanamaker. She's a podiatrist. Come on, help me.
We had a couple of kids do
Oh,
original oratorical pieces.
That was great.
What was the event?
It is the Black History Month social, and it's a lot of fun. We basically have community members come in and celebrate the African American history and current life and future, and we snack together and hang out together, and it's a good time every year. And then coming up in April is our Dia de los Niños, which is also, I think this is the 4th annual Dia de los Niños, which is Children's Day Book Day, where we have a bunch of community resources that come in, set up tables, and then we have all afternoon story times, one after the other. The event is bilingual. It's usually very well attended with 200 or 300 people. And I definitely recommend all of you come out. It'll be on April 26th from 12 until 3. And I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
Can I add one thing,
Yes.
Heather? Not when Heather was talking about the faxing and the notarizing is often Spanish documents that people don't know what they're notarizing.
True.
So having Spanish-speaking team who will review it, make sure the person understands what they're signing, that is a gift
It
to
is
this
a
community that is
very valuable.
huge. Yeah.
I'm the Spanish notary. We're about to get another Spanish notary. Vanessa is going to take her oath in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So soon we'll have 2 Spanish notaries.
And I like to think about all the ways we can help the communities we reside in. And it doesn't have to be checking out a book. And
Absolutely.
you're a beautiful example
Thank
of
you.
that.
Thank you. I'm very proud of the work we do.
Okay,
Thank you.
questions from the group? No? Clay, do you want to make any comments about the Friends?
The only thing we passed along, and I think I probably mentioned this last month, that they had a new board member coming on, and her name is Tarina Gill. She originally was from New Orleans, and they moved to Richmond in the somewhat recent past. And the other thing, she's working with Chris Kane on organizing her volunteers, funneling some of them to RVA reads and the other areas of need. And the other thing I just mentioned, the book sales coming, the book drive rather, is coming up Saturday the 1st, this Saturday, from 9 to 2. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my second in command or first in command, I'm not sure, Sharon, advocacy.
Okay, during the month of February, emails were sent out to our council members, and several of them have visited libraries with our board members. Ms. Woody, you coordinated with Sarah Abu Baker. Emily, you coordinated with Mr. Breton, and Cynthia, you coordinated with Mr. Jones. Ms. Jones and Reba Trimble. Oh, and Reba also? Okay. Let's see. Garrett was unable to come today, but he and I think Scott have touched base with Kenya Gibson and are coordinating tours for the month of March for Ginter Park and North Avenue. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I have talked to Cheryl Burke, who is a school board member, and we're coordinating with Cynthia Newville to tour the East End Library. It's budget season, and coordinating people to do that is not easy. Um, and our illustrious president did a 3-minute public comment at Monday night. Did you want to say
I'll
what you
just mention a couple things. One, I send out a communication individually to council members. I CC the trustee who works with them, which is why you got that. I go and talk, and then I send out an email afterwards, and I CC the trustee that is there. And my goal is to build our reputation as a group dedicated to helping the residents in the city. And I like to do that with numbers and data, and I like to do that with stories. So I'm very I only want to give good news. And we have lots and lots of good news. So in my 3-minute talk, I talked about how we helped with the water crisis. I talked about how delighted we were that the council people were working with our trustees to visit our libraries. Perked all the people who have been on visits up. They all sat a little straighter. And then I talked about how we're proactive. We know we can help everyone in the city if we can get them to the library. And so we launched a library card campaign that all divisions were involved in and ended up with a 128% increase in signups that we've had in previous years. Went over nicely, especially because the mayor and his team was there. So that was kind of a little bonus. So that was my small advocacy activity. We've had 2 emails go out, January and February. We're right on track with that. This is my second talk before council. Next month, I'm the writer of the email. So look for the next 2 weeks or so for something from me. Always tailor it to your voice. My voice is distinctive. I notice Sharon's voice is very different from my voice. She's much more comprehensive than I am. Make it your voice, and if you can include a data piece and a heart piece, usually in the packet, I find that to be very effective. But I'll send you some guidance. Look for that for me in the next 2 weeks. Okay. Questions on advocacy? Policy.
Sure, I'll just give a general status update today. Scott and I have both spent a lot of time reviewing all of the library's policies. We had a marathon review session where we discussed our notes. There were a number of items where we wanted to get feedback from staff or sort of experts in a certain area related to the policy. So Scott is coordinating that. And once we have some of those revisions, then we'll discuss them again, and eventually we'll have kind of a product that we can present to you all for discussing and eventually approving. And this is more of a comprehensive review. We anticipate that in the future, we'll be able to do this in a more incremental way, but it's been a while since there has been a comprehensive review. So this year it's kind of a big lift, and in the future, hopefully it'll be easier.
And I'll remind you, this is a new position. We created, and Emily was kind enough to take it on, and clearly is taking it very seriously. So I appreciate the effort you and Scott are doing. It's always good to do a comprehensive look every 10 years, but our only protection from banned book, angry people is current, up-to-date policies. So thank you very much. Any questions, comments on policy? Okay, chair report. This is Library Lovers Month. For those who don't have that on their calendar. And one of our requirements for being on this board is you had to love the library. If you don't care about this, we don't care how important you are. We actually don't even care how much money you have. You have to love the library. And I can say hands down, that is absolutely true. And it's true because we have an excellent library system, both from the people that work here and the way they do their jobs. So for anyone who's a librarian listening to this, the trustees are right there with you. I'm going to have Scott talk a little bit during finance about the budget situation. Always an interesting time of year. And while we're not going to decide what we're going to do about it, I want you to be able to think with love in your heart how we're going to protect our library and have our library flourish in over the next 3 or 4 months with a new administration and not a very happy budget scenario. So Scott, I'm turning it over to you for finance and Bill for finance.
So this year is going to be different than other years. It always seems like in the city of Richmond, every year is a different year when it comes to budget. We went through 8 years of the Stoney administration, and that was a transition from older kind of budgeting into a variety of budgeting strategies and techniques. And this year, Mayor Vula began January 1 and has a new CAO who really drives the process. Sabrina Joy Hogg, she's an interim acting CAO. This year, the budget will be announced on March 27th. Usually it is announced at the beginning of March. I believe that was done to give the new mayor more time to get established, get in place, make some assessments, and work with the transitional team to refine numbers and see where things are at. I believe there are other details such as assessments, real estate assessments, revenue assessments that are coming in, also some expenditures that they're evaluating, and about 30 extra days will help them have more time to know better where those numbers will go and run some projections and estimates for what things will be costing. One of the driving factors for the city over the next 2 years will be a real estate assessment freeze. So over the next 2 years, they will not, assessments will remain the same. And that will be done to bring assessments into alignment with budgeting. Because right now the budget, real estate assessments and revenue assessments are out of sync with the city's budgeting process. So the goal is to bring those into alignment so that when they sit down with their budget, they'll have better information as to what the revenues and expenditures will be. Makes a lot of sense. The challenge is you have to kind of stop your assessing as you do that. So that means your real estate property taxes won't go up for 2 years. Now, after 2 years, we don't know what they're going to do. Anticipated increase is what they're predicting, and we don't know how that will be managed. All that said, there are lots of factors that are creating some uncertainty in the budget, and there are concerns that there's deficits that may not be manageable. So they have asked all departments to make scenario cuts for how we would manage various deficits in the budget. I provided a little bit of information to them based on the past, but I haven't given them a definitive scenario for what the library would have to do if we saw a 5 or 10% cut to our operational budget. So again, it's in process. We will know more on March 27th when the mayor puts his budget together and announces what it will be. That being said, all of this could change. They could make some find some areas of the budget that aren't being utilized, and we don't have to have any cuts. We don't know yet. So that's the scary part. In terms of CIP, we've been told there is no CIP money. That will probably be the case for the 2 years that the assessment goes on. So they'll be only doing emergency maintenance and existing projects that are in process. They won't be funding really any new projects other than emergency projects, which is typical of a situation like this where you're kind of slowing everything down. All that said, we're still doing our part to provide information to the CIP process and the budget process. So that will continue to go on for the next few weeks. One of the positive things that I'm seeing that I have not seen in the city of Richmond is the mayor has invited all of city council to a retreat advance. I like to say it that way because retreat sounds like you're going backwards, advance, so it's a retreat advance, and that will take place this weekend. That is something new to the city of Richmond. In the past, it would be like kind of to me it was an adversarial relationship between council and the mayor. I think there's something to be gained from everybody getting into a room and having a conversation and talking about things. That's something that I've seen in other localities where I've worked, and they will go into the budget. And have you ever wondered why Chesterfield and Henrico, it seems like their budget's done in 2 weeks and they don't have a lot of controversy? It's because they do this sort of activity. So I am hopeful that they will do that. They will also have an outside third party that will run this retreat for them. I think that's another key thing. So I am hopeful that we don't have the chaos that we've had in the past. I am hopeful that they will realize and make some difficult decisions about what the operational and budgets will go forward, and hopefully we don't have the disaster, the crisis that we're fearful of. And I think it was one of the things that has been great, that has been helping us, is the advocacy we've been doing. I think Chris's presentation at the board, I think all of these meetings you've been having, they make a difference because they're hearing what we do, they're seeing it, and it's better than me providing facts and statistics and numbers and me telling them. It's better when you tell them. It's better when the people that they know tell them, because that helps them come to the best decision to support our libraries. Over the next month, as more information becomes available, we'll work together to identify, if we have to make cuts, what are the different scenarios that we would do. So I'll be working with Bill and Chris and Finance Committee on just options to bring back to the board to consider. So we won't know until March 27th. So probably be after that when we talk about, okay, this is what we're going to do. So we'll know more probably in the April meeting or by the end of March. We'll communicate that out.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Time for questions.
Time for questions.
We're seeing federal cuts everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere. Give me a guess, because I know you are just kind of looking at data. Do we at the library have federal money? Or are there big pockets of federal money that come to the city of Richmond that would be cut out, that they then need to, how much is this going to hit us specifically and perhaps secondarily?
Those are good questions. So in terms of federal money from DC really dried up decades ago.
Okay.
There is money that comes to the state from what's called LSTA, libraries, science, technology, and I think museums used to be in there, but maybe they're separate now, I'm not sure. So federal dollars would come in and would be given to the state library. The state library would then use it for, over the last 10 years, they've used it to purchase electronic databases. So when you go to our website and use Find It Virginia, the money goes to pay that. I don't believe it. It might be $500,000 to $1 million. It's not a great amount of money. It funds, the federal funding also funds positions at the Library of Virginia, but a lot of that money just goes right there. in terms of state dollars, the General Assembly provides money to the 97 libraries in the state of Virginia. And that amounts to about, for us, it's about $300,000 a year that comes to the city from the state budget, and that goes directly into our book budget. Right now, that budget, as far as I know in the General Assembly, it's been a short session, I think that funding is in good shape. I had heard that it was going to be cut. However, these changes at the federal level, it's almost like the impact is at the front of the train, and it won't come to us until it kind of moves down through the train. I think in the next 12 to 18 months, depending on what happens with Medicaid and Medicare, that could create a bigger hole in the state budget, and they'll start looking at that could impact that money. I don't know that it would impact our local dollars as much right away, but the majority of our $8.5 million in our budget comes from the city of Richmond. It comes from local taxpayers. It's just that very small portion of state dollars that comes to us. Now that said, I still help the library community in the state advocate for those dollars, because that state funding in the library I came from, it was our book budget. It was our whole book budget. So the $250,000 that Appomattox Regional Library got, that was their book budget. So I do my best in our part as a library community to support that funding. And the General Assembly has been very aware of that, and we have a strong connection with them. But back to Richmond, I don't see state or federal impacts right away. We have some grant money, so we have a NEH grant that Susan was able to get for us to support some programming. That funding may be lost in the future. I think they'll probably fulfill the commitment that they have now. It will impact us if we wanted to go for other federal funding. I don't know that there'll be opportunities for us to seek that in the future unless something changes. So from a state and federal level, I think we don't have a lot of danger there. I get all of them. Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I was just going to mention on the multiple scenarios, we're going to look at various, not just amounts that could be lost here, but how we would cope with them. And the reason I mentioned that is that what we're hoping is that by April, we're going to have a pretty good feeling by the April meeting what council and the mayor think the budgets are going to be. And seems to be, from what Scott's telling me at least, a tendency right now, the concept right now of being, let's cut everybody sort of the same okay? And you can argue good things or bad things about that. But we're hopeful that if they say that it's, say, a 10% across the board cut, it'd be pretty substantial. But just say they did that really that doesn't necessarily affect everyone equally. There's some programs that may be more critical than others. Public safety, you may not be able to cut that 10% at all. The library fits somewhere in between that absolutely critical there and some of the other things. It's a pretty important one. Just as we were hearing about the homework help here at Broad Rock, some of those kind of things. It really is part of the safety net and very important. So I think we're going to need to look at those and decide what's possible. And one of the things we're going to try to do is look at that from the perspective of each particular branch and what those effects are, because that's something that then you can take out as part of advocacy to your individual council members. Say, you know, if it's cut this much, Broad Rock's not going to be able to be open quite as much, and therefore we're not going to be able to service as well. I was talking to Scott about this. West End, the analogy might be, hey, the book budget's getting cut. It's the highest circulating branch in the system. You know, people don't want to see that they can't get the new books that they're looking for there. Belmont, you know, it has different things. West River Hills, different. So we've got to sort of tailor that. So we don't want to look at it and say, oh, 10% means everything cuts evenly across ours, or well, it's the last thing we did is the first thing cut. I think we need to really look at it differently. And then the final thing I'll say with that is that's also when we'll ask for you to start doing something on advocacy. Right now, we don't want to jump in and raise the alarm with your council members, even if you're having this casual conversation with them. you can say we're really hoping it holds, but right now, it probably would be a little counterproductive to ask them and have them going in sort of pushing right then, because we want to have the goodwill of everybody who's negotiating this. Okay? The final thing I was going to say is that we are nicely on budget for this year, just from the finance side. So I think Scott's team is doing a good job. They're moving some money from things that are over budget to things that are under budget, and we're going to be fine getting through this fiscal year at least. We're 60% of the way through right now, and things look good there. Okay, thank you.
Any questions to Bill or to Scott on money? Okay. Facilities.
Facilities. So I've been away for a while, so
Welcome back. We missed you.
so I had to call Gail and say, Gail, what do we do at the library?
We had to
But
memory challenges.
we worked on it and we both pieced it together. So, we're updating the 2009 master plan. And we, mainly Scott, set a very ambitious schedule for that. It slipped a little bit, as things do. So they've collected a lot of data for that report, and what I think is the good news is that Scott was asked to put some numbers in the CIP, and he did that. Numbers, because the 2009 plan said you ought to expand your branches or do something with your branches. So we're following up on that. And so now the CIP has library numbers in it. They're ambitious numbers, and listening to all this budgeting stuff, and it's like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? But these things take years and years. So I think it's progress that we got numbers in the CIP. Scott says they're not too far off from finishing the updated master plan. There'll be some focus groups in March for the public to chime in. So.
And then during National Library Week, we're going to ask, one of the things is, children, draw your dream library. So we're going to be able to include that in our report.
Cute.
Good idea.
So you'll see paper surveys appearing in your branches that people can complete, because we haven't distributed paper surveys yet. We've mainly been doing everything electronically, and we want to make sure we're connecting with as many users as we can. So paper is the next wave. Then we'll be doing public meetings where I present, we talk about libraries, what they could be, what the state of libraries are, what they, aspirational dreams of our users, and gathering more of that, also getting more information for the survey. We've been doing an inventory of all of our buildings and updating all of the facts and figures, as well as images, so pictures of every single site, listings of when HVAC was replaced, roofs were replaced, whether they've had the landscaping through the stormwater, greening of Richmond Public Library, so listing all of those, and also just having all of our building plans in one place. A lot of times we'll get asked for building plans, and it's a hunt to find them because we have 100 years of building plans. So I have plans from the 1920s, plans from 1972. I have plans of where we did a renovation and we tore out part of a floor and rerouted all kinds of things. So getting all of those documents into place, so if somebody comes to us and says, hey, we've got this $50 million and we want to put it, what do you have your drawings? We can produce those relatively quickly and share them. That's a big step forward for us. And then we're also still gathering all of the data of numbers, statistics, figures, and benchmarking. That's been very cumbersome because at a national level, some of that data, the definitions are different, the way they collect it is different, the electronic presentation of it is different, and so it's challenging to pull it all together and make sure we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. But we're going to get there. We're concentrating right now on our statistics. Every month I give you these, you get these reports here. So crunching this into data that's relevant and helps helps demonstrate what the library is doing and potentially what we could do is what I'm trying to pull together in a format that will be explanatory and helpful as we go forward with decisions.
Question. Are we, and this might be premature, are we going forward thinking it will have the look of the 2009 master plan, or are we looking to do a document that will have a very different look? Because you're gathering much more information. Are you going to use that information in the document, which would give it a different feel? What do you think?
I'm thinking of it as two parts. So there will be like the back end part where we share all of the stuff, and then the front end piece, which will be an executive summary, a presentation of the numbers, very similar to the 2009 plan, because I think the bones of that plan are really strong.
I liked it, but it's not my call.
But I would like that to be the public-facing document,
Okay.
and then the staff side will help evolve and develop that, and that will be the living document as we go forward.
Okay.
So something definitely presentable that is concise and thorough and reflects the goals and objectives of what we're trying to do. I mean, the question was, in 2009, we need to renovate all the locations. The renovations that we did between 2011 and 2017 really stabilized the deferred maintenance that we had over 50 years. And in 2009, they recognized that the libraries were not sized to meet the needs at that time. So when it was requested that, hey, what kind of funding do you need? I took the recommendations from that 2009 report, applied new cost per square foot and estimates to create a number for the CIP to go forward. I also updated the main library master plan that was approved in 2022. In that report, it was $65 million was the number, and they said for every year it's a 6% escalation. So I provided that update to the CIP. So that moved the number from 64 to about 75 million. So I think those are baseline starting numbers for us to go forward. They can work as a placeholder in the CIP as funding becomes available. The next step for any project is a design development, and so that is all a part of the process to move forward. So we now have a really good number, an estimated number for the CIP folks to move forward, and that's something we didn't have before because we were kind of still basing it on the 2009 plan, the renovations, and lots of little maintenance things in the CIP. Now we'll have a number and some square footages. Now they're not 100% accurate. They're probably not exactly what we need today, but they're a place to begin with, and that's a lot farther than we were before. So CIP and budget, I'm optimistic about it. I think that we're gonna figure these challenges out, and hopefully we won't have to go through this scenario crisis again. We've had enough crisis.
You don't get to pick.
No, right.
Yeah, not that I don't share that, but
Eternal
you don't get to
optimism.
pick whether you get a crisis or not. Draft for me to look at. When?
Oh, it's
I don't care when, but give me a date that you think you'll make. I don't care when it is, but
It's tough to commit to that.
don't say it's gone.
Yeah.
No, give me, I truly don't care, but let's make the date.
I need
So
to
if
look.
it's August,
I
it's
can't give it
August.
to you right now,
Okay.
but I will work on it.
When you're ready, I don't care when,
Okay.
but make it,
Okay.
okay?
I'll get with the committee and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, take the time you need, but I wanna make sure I have time to look at it, think about it. All right, Garrett's not here for governance. I did talk to him this morning. He and I are gonna talk a little bit more, about what we're looking for in the next couple years. So he'll have more to talk about, next month. unfinished business, any other things that we're touched on, need to touch on that we would like to talk about? Okay. New business?
I did have something. I'm always sticking my nose out in there.
What
but,
we like best
you know,
about you, Sharon.
our community is changing, and the way people communicate and their needs are changing. And, of course, we've been keeping up. And I'm thinking, there are spaces now coming about in Richmond that people are having to rent to do things like podcasts, YouTube, TikTok videos, that sort of thing. And I don't know if we have space, say, in the main library to set up some sort of room, studio, something, people who want to do a podcast, or a YouTube interview or something of that nature, and perhaps supply the equipment for the, videoing and sound or whatever, something like that. Just kind of keeping up with the times. I know podcast people don't necessarily want to sit in their homes and do it. And like I said, I've been to places that they are renting out now, and everybody who does these things doesn't have the money to do that. But, it might be something to look at down the road.
Yeah, you're right. We have been working on that. So part of the Mellon grant, we do a lot of oral histories. So we just purchased a thing called a Zen booth, which is a modular piece of equipment that will sit in the Richmond room that has acoustic treatment in it. And so you can go in there and record an oral history project. There's enough room for about 4 people in this little space. So we have it set up, and it's a short-term solution for this because we wanted to do better oral history. So we have that at the main library. I'd love to have something like that at our branches. We just don't have the room for it in our branches. We also have, and this is a good opportunity for you to give you an update on the television studio. If you remember, we moved the Comcast education channel from Boulevard over to the main library. I forget how long it's been, 6 years, I guess. And so we have on the second floor the old television studio that used to be at the Comcast building on Boulevard. Now, it was a space for people to come in and do their public television show. And it has cameras and equipment, and then it gets put out on channel 99, which I think some of you have access to if you live north. If you live like north of the James, I think you have the channel. If you live south of the James, you don't have the channel. So it's weird. So you get the Chesterfield channel. Anyway, so we have that public access television station. Now, one of the challenges we have right now is the equipment has broken, and we are black right now. And so we have a request in the city to update the equipment and upgrade the equipment. So I would like to see us get new cameras, new digital equipment, and re-outfit that television channel studio that we have. And so we've been asking for many years to get that equipment updated, and we've not been provided the funding to update the equipment. So right now it's broken, and so now we're in discussions to try and get it replaced. But I've worked on this since it came in. When we got the television studio, we were promised that the equipment would be updated, but the funding never arrived. So we're working on it right now.
And does that funding come from the city, or is Comcast? I thought Comcast was required to support this.
You are correct. Comcast has a franchise fee with the city that they collect money and provide it to the city to provide a public access channel, an education channel, and a government channel. So if you watch the council meetings on the TV, the government channel provides it. There's also an education channel which RPS has access to, and then there's this public access channel which resides in the library. So hopefully we'll get the equipment replaced with that funding allocated to you to get it updated. So you are right on that.
And possibly be used for
Anyone can use it, yeah.
Anybody,
If you wanna have a
anything.
show, the Sharon Show, and do, put it out on the airwaves, you can, and then you could make a digital version and put it out on YouTube, or like we're broadcasting on YouTube right now, so. We've got the Zen booth, and we thought, well, we would really like to do videos for the melon. The oral history is great, recording is 1,000 words, well, a video is 1,000,000 words. And if we had a space that was like a studio, well, lo and behold, we have a studio, but we don't have the equipment. The equipment is no longer functional at all. It's 30 years old, and it's done. So. So you're right on. We have it. We just need to keep building it stronger.
Good. But I'd like to see like a comfortable room, like, you know, you could have like, I mean, somebody with a desk interview, you know, but like you know, like if you had a group sitting there. And get some furniture stores to donate some sofas, you know, a sofa or something. I mean, just make it look like something that people want to, I don't know. It's just comfortable and you know, functional, I guess.
Well, some libraries in their teen spaces, they put up a green screen and they have really nice audio visual equipment, and you can appear like you're on Aruba Beach in the Broad Rock meeting room. So those are kind of, it's not quite as nice as a studio, but it would be something if somebody wants to be creative and learn how to use that equipment and soft and technology. So we're hoping to do that.
And some of our young people might have ideas on what might look good. Young people.
Those pretty good. So I hope that kind of gives you a little.
Just
little
throwing it
update.
out there.
Uh, any other comments? No? Okay, our next meeting is going to be March 26th. We'll be at the East End branch, and that wraps it up. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move